Okay, so we're gonna start now. Welcome back to Urban X TV. I am Malcolm. I am joined here by our resident financial expert, DJ, the Money Coach, and we have a very special guest today from In Demand Career, Mr. Seth Hymes. Thank you for joining us today.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, for the people who don't know you, I want you to give a quick breakdown of who you are, what you do, and we can get a well-rounded interview going, because I think right now is a perfect time for people to grasp the information that you have, being that a lot of people are at home, a lot of people have gotten laid off, and a lot of the labor-based jobs are going out, and a lot of people are starting to they want to shift to a more technical, knowledge-based career. So I want you to introduce yourself.
Hey, may I interrupt and edify Seth a little bit, just to give context to how Seth came about getting on the platform? That be okay?
Definitely.
Hey, so what I want to share with you guys is I've known Seth indirectly for 3.5 years, and actually I stumbled on Seth's course and I thought it was amazing. I bought the course back in 2017, and I took the course myself. And I found out that, I understood it, but I knew it was just something a little bit above my pay grade. So I took it and put it in front of my 13-year-old son, who his name is Rodney. And I said, Rodney, I think this fits right into what you can do. And my son took to it like a duck to water, literally. And he took the course. It was so simple for him that he passed all his certifications in literally 3 weeks at the age of 13. And I don't even know if I remember telling you this, but he actually had got offered a job to do digital marketing for a janitorial service on a part-time basis. And the guy basically told him, which was a friend of mine, he said, hey, if you can do analytics for me, I'll pay you $15, $20 an hour. And my son would start laughing. We were out at lunch and he was serious. He said, hey, I'll give you a couple of tasks. My son did a couple of them, and my son just didn't follow through. And after that, my son just lost interest in it, but I continued to follow Seth. And what I was talking to Malcolm about, Seth, I said, there's no better time in the present to start bringing some transformational digital skills to our platform, to our people. And I said, let me reach back out to Seth. And now that my son is graduating from high school to go to college, I put the program back in front of him. About 6 weeks ago, I think I reached back out to Seth, and my son took the course. Seth was kind enough to give us a nice little, grandfather's discount. And my son, again, has passed everything. And he's now working on my website, corrected about 20-30% of things I was doing wrong. And now he's fired up. And now he sees a future doing that in conjunction to going to college. So that's the reason why Seth is here. And I fully endorse the program. And I think anybody that does not listen to Seth and see how simple it is to start a new career that is transformational, that you'll be able to do as long as this digital world, you will behoove yourself. And like I always say, Malcolm and Seth, you'll come to learn this by knowing me. Your wood is wet, and wet wood sinks. So without that, I want to give you my soon-to-be good friend, Seth Hymes, the owner of In Demand Career.
Oh, thanks for that intro. Let me give you a little bit more details about my background. So I am not a marketer by training. I went to art school back in the day, studied film, was pretty much, I won't say unemployed, but unemployable for 10 years in my 20s. I waited tables. I worked at hotels. I couldn't really figure out how to make money or have a career. That the problem with me is every career, every job I got, I just hated working in an office.
Right.
I couldn't really stand it for more than a year. I worked in accounting, things like that. And in 2010, 2011 is when I stumbled into digital marketing. A friend took me to a conference. They were talking about digital, Google ads and websites, and it kind of just light bulb went off in my head. And I just started teaching myself about, online ads and how people are making money digitally, which even back then was still something most people didn't understand.
Right.
And in 2011, I was trying to make money with my own websites, my own products, my own stuff, and I wasn't making very much money. But what happened is I had built up these skills, and I didn't even know that these skills were valuable until I went on Craigslist at the time, and I applied for this digital analyst position. And I remember thinking, oh, I'm not going to qualify for this position. I just told them about all the stuff I had done on my own, trial and error. They got back to me within like an hour and hired me that week. Wow. And I started out, now at this time, this is like, what is that, almost 10 years ago. I think they hired me at like $16, $18 an hour, which for me at that time was like huge.
That was some good money.
My parents were coming to visit and I was unemployed, and I was just like, oh man, I hope I have a job by the time they visit. And so I was so happy. But what I got was more, what was funny is it was, the job itself, that wasn't a ton of money, but the experience I got managing accounts, they handed me the first week. I walked in with such little experience, you wouldn't even believe it. They handed me $100,000 worth of ad spend per month.
Wow.
Like literally, this is your responsibility. And the VP of the company, my boss, my friend, he's sitting next to me to answer questions, but he showed me on the job like kind of what to do in more detail. And it was scary. It was scary and it was exciting. But within like 6 months to a year, suddenly I'm in a whole new field. There's a whole new profession. Right. And I worked there for about a year and a half. And what's funny is I was talking one day with one of my coworkers who actually, he was from China and he was on a work visa. And he was like, oh man, he's like, he was kind of bummed because he's on a work visa. He has to stay at this one company. He's like, I just keep getting all these job offers. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, on my LinkedIn, people are always messaging me. And actually back then I said, what's LinkedIn? I didn't know. Right. So I didn't realize he kind of explained to me, he's like, oh yeah, this is what the salary is in this field. And it was like a lot more than I was making. And from that point on, I was like, whoa. I went out and within 3 years, I was making six figures. I went up to a $60,000 a year position. And then I got hired at a $75,000 a year position with bonuses at working in-house at a private company. And that was within 3 years of me being this clueless. And, it's the internet. And so I was, it sounds like kind of crazy, but it was just what I realized is that this is a field, digital marketing, the management of digital ads and websites. Like this is where all the commerce has been going for the last 20 years, accelerating faster now because of what's happening in the world. But most people just don't know about these jobs. And I learned this firsthand because I try to explain to my family. Everyone was excited that I'm doing well. They're like, what do you do? If you say, I don't know, if you say you're an accountant or something, people will understand. Say, oh, I'm doing SEO optimization. Or I'm doing, SEM management, search engine management. And they just look at you like, what? And then I start to explain it. And I think these concepts are simple now because I've been doing it. But for most people, this is why the field is still so good. The average person, the average worker, the average college graduate doesn't even know about these jobs. And that's why there's still, even during the pandemic, there's still a big demand because the jobs have been growing. It's not like other fields where all these people are trying to jump into it. Even marketing graduates, who are a lot of my students, they don't learn about these skills, which still blows my mind. Colleges are so slow and bureaucratic in in how they educate people.
Did I hear that correctly? You said even marketing graduates don't know this stuff, Seth? I'm sorry for interrupting you, but I could have sworn that's what you said.
Yes. Yeah, it's really, this is one of those things, like if you see my YouTube channel, I kind of go on these rants about college because it's so frustrating to me. I'll get these kids, and some of them actually, with the funny thing, the worst is when I get a kid who's in college paying like $20,000, $30,000 a year, and he's like learning this outdated nonsense, and then he's like, well, I can't afford your course. I'm like, my course costs less than a textbook in your stupid overpriced program. And I'll say to them, what are you learning? And I'm not going to go on a rant, the details, but basically these marketing curriculums are outdated. And the way that universities work is they are slow, outdated. They're disconnected from the real world. They're disconnected from the people who are doing the hiring. So I'll see some of the curriculums of these marketing programs, and it just blows my mind. They're learning concepts that may have been, applicable 20 years ago. I remember a friend of mine was actually, this is not marketing, but MBA. I remember he was going to sign up for an MBA program, and he was looking at their curriculum, and they were using as one of their like case studies, Eastman Kodak.
Eastman Kodak.
Eastman Kodak. And I'm
the
from
60s?
Rochester, New York. And I said, I don't know what you're going to teach somebody except how to go bankrupt.
Right.
By failing to innovate. So, I have strong opinions about college, but and that's why I'm so passionate about teaching the way I teach, is because I really love education. I think college has distorted education. But anyway, just to kind of try to wrap this up, I was working in the field for about 5 or 6 years, and then one of my buddies said to me, we kind of joke about the fact that, like, everybody wants to hire you once you have one of these jobs. There's such a need for it.
Right.
My buddy and I were talking, and I said it's like being the prettiest girl at the dance. It's like these recruiters are always like, hey, how you doing? How was your weekend? Hey, I have a job opening I'm trying to fill. And I said, is this your, and he said same thing with me. And I said, this is silly because, there's all these people out there that need a job, and we have the skill set where we have too many job offers. So I can't take more than one job,
Right.
But I prefer entrepreneurship. I prefer teaching. I bet you I could make a course where I could show somebody how to do what I did, step by step. And that's what I did. I put the course together and launched it a couple of years ago. And, I didn't think it would become as successful as it has, not just in terms of like sales, but in terms of helping people, because we have had so many life-changing, that word may be overused, but it's really true. Like, I help people get these great jobs, change their lives, people with and without college degrees, college graduates who were just in debt and lost in life.
Right.
I got a chance to meet my students in real life, even though they met me online. It just absolutely overwhelmed me to meet people in person who you've helped with this stuff. So it's been really great.
So I have a question. How long did it take you to actually put your course together? Like, I know a lot of people, when it comes to what they want to teach, they like to trial and error. Like, maybe this was a little too complex for, somebody who's just starting out. Like, how were you able to kind of fine tune and tweak your actual course? Because I'm taking it right now for the people, like, I've paid for it fully, and I'm taking it right now. And anytime my brain just starts to work, like, I wonder how long it took you to put this together.
For this course, now I had already done a film course. So I have and like anything, the more you practice, the better you get. So my background's in filmmaking. I did a film course a few years earlier. When I made the course originally a few years ago, I probably spent about 2 to 3 months of it. And this is when, I was single, I was hungry, I was spending 10, 11 hours a day focused on this. It's funny, I was actually in Costa Rica, and I was broke. I somehow was able to take a trip and stay with some people. And I remember I was out in the rainforest, and I actually had, it sounds so trippy, but I was like meditating and stuff. And that's when I first got the idea of, like, I saw like how to put it together. I was like, how am I going to take somebody from ground zero to where I am? But also because I don't have a marketing background, because I came into the field just as clueless. I didn't know what a website was. I didn't know anything. So it was easier for me because I knew, well, how did I learn it? What did I need to know? And then I've also hired people and been part of the hiring process. So I know what the employers are looking for. So I put everything together.
That's very important.
The difference with the course, not to jump ahead, is that I said to myself, the thing I don't like about current education is that it's not practical and it doesn't take people through to the end goal. Like at I went to NYU back in the day, and I remember it's like you spend 4 years learning whatever, and then on the last day, they're like, hey, here's a workshop on how to get a job for 2 hours.
Right.
And someone, some like bureaucratic person is like, so for your resume, you should put your name at the top, and it's not, it's ridiculous. So I said, I'm gonna meet the course is gonna include not just as a bonus, but the actual the whole course is geared towards the goal. Right. And I want to get it doesn't do the work. People work their butts off on the course, but if they follow what I say, that's how they get the results, because I don't leave them hanging with, hey, you just learned, you learned about analytics. Now, good luck. Go get a job.
The one thing I was impressed with your course is, like I said, like I'm like a quarter way through it. You went through real life job listings line by line on what they expect and how your course can be applicable to that job listing. And the way I looked at it is, like people who follow this channel, they know like I'm a full-time entrepreneur. So I looked at it as, at best, this course is going to help me with my own business. At worst, if I have to dust off the resume, I'll be able to do it. And I like those odds. So that's one of the things I was really most impressed with.
And I'll chime in too, because that's what thing that struck a chord with me when I saw you were walking people through the resume process and how to get interviewed, and actually how to show the people at the interview exactly what you do. They created your own page that gets them the job.
Because a lot of people,
universities don't do that.
Right, and a lot of people, again, like they're probably watching this right now and saying, okay, I've been looking for jobs in my field and they need experience, but I actually need to have the experience to get the job. And it's that real paradox that a lot of people find themselves, especially graduates, college graduates. And I thought that was like really, really an important point that you made, just starting out in the course.
I'm gonna tell you another caveat. Yeah. Seth, actually, in the past, you would actually walk them through the actual interview process. I know in the old course, I remember that. You would take some students, say, here's what you do, A, B, C, and D. He would actually personally online walk them through as he's interviewing, like role play. And I'm like, dude, who's doing that for this little bit amount of money? That right there was like, if you are serious about getting a job, this guy is showing you step by step how to talk to the person and interview and set you up and allow you to kind of co-market your resume skills with what you learn from the system as your actual proof of experience. That put me over the top.
Right.
That's what do I want to say? I have so many things to say about that, but one of the things that I like is the way that I teach. First of all, if you're watching this and you're still like, I don't know what we were talking about in terms of digital marketing, every single one of my students, and this is a question I get most often, is like, everyone who's taking the course, if you see my testimonials, everybody was right there. I was right there. I didn't know anything. It's learnable. It's not as complicated as coding. What I say is, it's not as complicated as coding. It's more complicated than like making French fries. It's sophisticated. You need to be analytical. You need to understand computers, but it's not like coding. And what happens is, the way I teach and the way the course is set up is people get so enthused because I make it interesting and fun. By the time they get to the interview, what happened with me is I didn't walk into my interview with like I definitely can give people tips, on like how to answer certain questions, but people come to interviews stiff and they're worried about getting the job and they're like, oh, well, how do I answer this question? When you actually get this kind of knowledge and you start generating your own experience and you kind of get your hands in it, you get that first taste of digital marketing, which is like, Malcom, you got that. That's why you're an entrepreneur. You get kind of hooked when you're in that state of passion on top of the specific skills. That's the type of person they want to hire. So all I did on my first interview is I just like, went back and forth with these guys, nerding out basically. I say geeking out for like an hour about all this internet stuff. They weren't, at that interview, they weren't like even like grilling me about specific stuff. Some jobs they'll be like, okay, you're going to do this practice thing or something. But most of my students, that's why they're so blown away. Is like, this listing said I need 3 to 5 years experience. I got the job. I showed up. I showed them my knowledge, my passion. They saw, the employers, usually what they'll see is that so much more than every other applicant.
Right.
And I also do teach people, that's like a tip I give people, is like, don't take job postings seriously. So I think people are get intimidated and they're like, so it's like everything, like the job posting is kind of like a wish list for the employers, but it's also full oftentimes of conflicting things. You don't know who wrote the job posting. It could be somebody in the HR department who doesn't know anything about digital marketing.
Right.
They'll throw up these years of experience requirements, and I show people how to dissect that and be like, they don't, like I say, for example, somebody's in, some small town or so, like I remember one specific. I shouldn't say I remember. I've gone through so many. There's so many listings, but like there'll be like a small city in Florida or something, and they'll be putting this, job posting together, and I'll say 10 years experience minimum. And I'm like, first of all, that's absurd. 10 years, 5 years. Second of all, who in this small town is going to have 5 to 10 years experience in digital marketing? Nobody. And that's why I'll say the posting's been up for 3 weeks or 4 weeks and with 2 applicants or something. Or I'll show people, it's like, you might see, there's been 150 applicants to a job, and people get intimidated. They say, oh no, it's overcrowded. I said, that means there's 150 bad applicants.
Oh, wow.
Like, because I've been in that position where even in 2000, when I was in my career, we put up a job posting for a technical position, put all the requirements, and then the people applying don't really read the posting. So we get all these people applying. They're just throwing their resume out there. They're doing bulk applications. They see the word Google, they see the word digital, and they apply. And I remember interviewing people, and they were just like, it's like, why did you? When you're hiring, sometimes you really are, it's almost like dating. You're like in this situation, you're like, oh my God, where's my Prince Charming? And I just show my students how to show up as like, you're the guy. Like you have the qualities that are going to make the employer want to work with you. And so many cases, what I teach in the course, I said, listen, my course is not one of those 50 hours, like grueling intensive courses. My goal is to get you into that entry level position, because you're going to learn more in that job, on the job accounts, than you would in some of these, 2-year digital marketing degrees that cost $60,000 and they're doing theory. Right.
So I'm curious, like you said, you've met some of your students. What was like the age range of some of the age and demographics, I guess, of some of your students that you met?
I was in New York in 2018, and I never met, I'm trying to think. Most of my students are much younger than I expected. I've met most people are in their 20s, but I do have a lot of students in their 30s and 40s. They're just less, what I've discovered is people who are a little older, a little less they're a little more reserved. They're a little less wanting to get on the internet or be on YouTube or Instagram or things like that. So they're there. That's why it kind of, sometimes people look at my testimonials, people who are a little older, and they see that people are in their 20s and they get a little turned off. I say, no, it's just, those are just the people that want to be on the internet. Right. You get to be in your 30s, you might say, I don't know if I want my face on the internet. But my students, I was in New York in December 2018, and all these people were messaging me. I said I was going to be there, and they put together like a dinner. We went to a pizza shop in Brooklyn, it was Queens. And I was blown away, man. I mean, most of, and also I'll be honest, like most of my students it's a very diverse group. I'm usually the only white person, is what I found when I'm in these groups, and I thought, oh, this is interesting. But I really enjoyed that. Like I don't really, the way I teach is I just teach to people, I think that the skills are definitely a great equalizer. Right. I think, I had the opportunity, actually, before I met my students in New York, Matt Tran was one of my affiliates, and there was an agency in Orange County, California, where 5 of my students were working there. Wow. I saw that video, yeah. So what was amazing is they all got hired independently of each other.
And they didn't know each other, right?
Oh, they didn't refer each other?
No. Oh, nobody knew each other. And again, they just followed my instructions. And then they all got hired at this agency. And then I think they said they were talking at work, and one was like, oh, how'd you get into the field? Oh, I took this course. Oh, what's the course? And then they're like, oh, really? You took the course? And then,
oh, man.
and then I think, I was in touch with one of them, and he's like, yeah, someone else here took it. And then he's like, oh, wait, 2 other people took it. So we actually interviewed 4 people. And then after the interview, it turned out there was a 5th person who I didn't know about. So I was like, this is, it was really touching. And yeah, so, and then I think I went to Atlanta for a conference and I met a few more of my students there. I also, when I was here in Asia, I met a student who was from the Philippines. And I met another student, Anthony, who's done very well now in SEO. And I met him up in Chiang Mai in Thailand here. So we like meeting people. It's cool.
That's cool. So I wanted to know, okay, I touched on this at the beginning of, the interview, with a lot of people at home working right now. A lot of people have just gotten laid off. And I'll be honest with you, for some people, like, they really feel like, the future kind of looks bleak. I wanted to know, how do you feel the field of digital marketing can help them right now?
Digital marketing is, I think, out of all the different fields, like, everybody's hurting because of what's happening. Everybody, except maybe Netflix. But digital marketing is one of the strongest fields that you can be in. First of all, it's online. Everybody, what I've been explaining for the last few years is that everybody needs digital marketing services, especially now during this pandemic. I mean, now even those people who were doing any kind of other advertising, all these other types of advertising are just gone. You can't do event advertising, billboards. Look at billboards. Right. Like, who's looking at a billboard? People
are outside. About that. Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Also, all these businesses that have been delaying or saying, oh, we don't need the internet, or which is still a lot. I think there was a report in 2018 maybe where it said like 50% of small business owners still don't have a website. It was like a crazy number. Yeah, it was mind blowing. But you got to remember how many businesses there are in the U.S. Millions. And as far as advertising goes, one of the things I learned working at agencies and having friends that worked at agencies is, yeah, you're going to have your big corporations, Best Buy and whatnot. But the majority of the ad spend is from all these mid-level companies and smaller companies. And they're all going online at this point, because that's the way that you meet, customers. That's where people are consuming things. That's where all the commerce is happening. And people are still, there's still 30,000 or more jobs available. There's jobs, there's freelance gigs online. Okay. And I think the other thing to bear in mind is that while things are difficult, remember that the news is always going to focus on the negative. That's how they make their money. I think it's weird for me, because I actually was very skeptical of this whole thing in the beginning, because I just don't like the media. I think they distort things. But then, of course, there's, obviously some obviously validity to everything that's happened. But then I think you can go too far into the negative, and they'll focus on just all of the people who are losing their jobs and all the problem. And you need to think in a different way. You need to focus on where there are jobs and where people are innovating, and in the future, because this will pass. We just don't know how long. That's why everyone's freaking. It's just, when you don't know, what do they say? It's like a study. It's like people can handle pain. It's more painful to not know when the pain's going to end. Right. So that's what's making it so difficult. I think once, the number of jobs in digital marketing has fallen like everything else, but it's still very high, especially compared to other industries.
Okay.
I'm sorry. When you say high, what would you say if we looked on LinkedIn and we looked on, what are some other Indeed sites and stuff like that? What will be the average digital marketing position that a newbie would be looking for, and what would be the ascension upward ladders? Because I've seen a lot of young kids that were like 17, 19, 21 take your course out, and it seems like, hey, 6 months they're making $15 an hour, 12 months later they're making $60,000, in 3 years they're making $100,000. You just recently had a post from a kid that was a warehouse worker that jumped out and made $55,000. Can you talk to that a little bit about these people and how long your course is?
Yeah, well, the course itself, and yeah, that is, like I said, the goal of the course is to get you those first entry level, build your experience. Because once you have 6 months to a year of experience actually working on a real website, and I mean, primarily in Google ads or Facebook ads, paid advertising is what I teach, or SEO, that's when you start getting hit up by recruiters. That's when you start being able to leverage over to the next position. the way it works, like with Roberto, who you're talking about, or with Lyndon, who went from working at Staples to making six figures, is
right.
I mean, first of all, everybody's a hustler. Everybody's a hustler. They're working hard to get to these results, but they're working smart. So the way it works is you take the course and you generate your own experience. You work on your own sites, or you find somebody locally, or there's actually a really great resource that I've included in there now that is actually it helps connect people who are learning marketing with businesses much easier. You don't have to, even if you're not kind of outgoing, they help you with that. But once you what we really need to do is start getting your hands on any kind of account. And I even, in my course, I say, listen, when I got my first job, all I had ever done was run Google ads to my own website, and they didn't even work. It wasn't profitable, but I had the experience. Literally, if you've set up an account and you've properly run a campaign for $20, what I teach people, that's experience. And I also teach people that be confident about that, because if you walk into that interview, chances are you know more than 90% of the other applicants who've never done that. And you just are looking for that agency or that company who is going to be, these agencies are looking for those types of people. They have all these client accounts. And like I said, during the pandemic, it's very much like the stock market with the NASDAQ going up and it's recovering, and who knows what'll happen in the next few months. But some stocks are up, some stocks are way down, right? So I say to people, I hear from my students are freelancing, a lot of them are traveling, a lot of them are location independent, and I check in with them. And remember, one of them said, some of our clients have paused the ads. Let's say you run a restaurant, right? You're not going to advertise, right? But others are hitting it harder. Others are doing very well, and that's just how it is in business. It's not like, no matter what the internet's or the news says, it's not like there's no businesses, nothing's happening. People are ordering stuff on e-commerce. E-commerce people are doing very well. They need people to help them with their ads. So when you start to get this initial experience, you're just building. You're climbing a ladder, like you said.
Right.
So you need to start off with very modest expectations and be excited about. Let's say you do get an entry-level job and it pays $15 an hour, but you're actually getting to manage some actual accounts. That's perfect. That's what you need. I also have students who freelance, who, up on Upwork.com, there's thousands of these gigs where business owners are directly looking for specialists, directly, not hiring somebody, but doing it on a gig basis, and they're getting gigs that way. And then there's also, you can work in-house, like what I did when I worked at this drug rehab center, and I was their PPC, paid advertising guy. And in those situations, what I tell people is in-house is great. I often can pay more, but you're kind of the expert at that point. So it's really on you to keep yourself educated. Versus if you work at an agency, you might be around a lot of other marketers, and that's where people learn. So a lot of people like Roberto, you get the initial experience, you build your confidence, and within 6 months, you're ready to go to the next position.
What I also noticed in your course is even with your main lesson there, you have some external resources to articles from even other digital marketing websites that you provide. What was the thinking behind that?
My thinking is that I'm providing the core training here. Everything you need is what I provided. But sometimes if a person, like how I was when I was learning, I was hungry. Right. I wanted to more. And sometimes I would look and I'd see an article. I'd say, listen, this article provides more details than, or this little, mini course or external course provides more details on this topic without me having to, what should I take all those articles and then just repeat them in my own video? I'm just going to send you there. And it's mostly bonus stuff.
Right.
Also, I train my students the way that the course works. Some people ask me, are you constantly updating it to keep up with the latest algorithms and these things? And the course is updated all the time. I'm in the forums every day, but the strategy is what you're learning, the strategy to get the job. And that's the evergreen thing. So what I teach my students to do is I want to teach you to be self-sufficient. I want to teach you to be able to keep up with the Google algorithms every day, every week. I want to teach you to be, a lot of times students will message me with little technical issues. And this is a big mindset thing I I like to teach people through this way. I say, oh, I'm setting my website, but I had this error, and I often won't respond right away, or I'll say, Google it.
Right.
to those, this isn't just, look, there's 14 hours of training. I give you a lot of information about, but what I want people to have is that go-getter mindset where they're constantly, and that's what happens with my students is then they go on to learn so much. Like I've had students come back to me like Drayshawn, who's doing very well, and he's teaching me stuff now. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, I didn't even know about that, because he's gone so far into SEO, and he got that initial spark and that way of being self-educating from the course.
Is that the guy from Staples?
No, Drayshawn he was working as a security guard.
Security guard, yeah, he's the guy who was in the car, and some people were trying to say, oh man, that stuff is a little outdated, and he was in the car like, you're crazy. That stuff works right now in 2020, so I don't know what you're talking about. That's right, I saw that 3 weeks ago. You're right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned a few terms, a few acronyms like SEO, PPC, SEM. I wanted you to explain them really quick for our viewers who have no idea what you're talking about. You sound like you're talking in another language right now. And
right.
You also talked about the language of a marketer, like in the actual course. So I wanted you to expound upon that.
And I go into more detail in the free mini course that you guys are going to link to. But if you want to see it and get more details, but basically, okay, so SEO stands for search engine optimization. This is search engine optimization is basically, everybody knows Google, right?
Right.
And we kind of just take for granted that when you Google something, all these great results are going to pop up. And Google has the dominant search engine. Some people use Bing, but everybody pretty much uses Google. Kind of amazing. So what companies like, well, how valuable would it be if someone types in like, best restaurant in Denver, or someone types in, car wash, which is local search, or, buy a TV or something. Companies want to show up at the top of those search results.
Right.
Because that's money for them.
Right.
You have to think to yourself, there's like something like 3 billions of searches every day. So those keywords are like money. And search engine optimization is the process of trying to get your customer's website to rank higher for particular terms.
Okay.
And the reason SEO is such a bonanza, and people, I worked at a place where they were paying a company, I think they were overpaying, but they were paying like $40,000 a month to an agency for SEO.
Just to do SEO? Wow.
Just to do SEO. Now, the reason that people will pay that much is because SEO is kind of like, it's what we call organic traffic. It's free. Once you pay someone a lot of money to try to get that, if you're that first result for a popular term, imagine if people are just coming to your website for free.
Right.
It's and that's what the power of the digital thing is. Like my YouTube channel, my websites, even when I started my film course, I remember I was doing SEO for film related terms because that was my passion. And I remember the first started doing it, and remember like I had 20 people in one day come to my website. And you might think, 20 is not that. I was like, dude, how hard would it be for you to actually call 20 people?
Right.
In the old way of doing things.
Right.
And through SEO, through my filmmaking site, which I still get visitors and I still get leads through that, which blows my mind. I haven't touched it in years.
Right.
But because of the work that I did years ago, it still produces results. And that's like the power of SEO. And when I looked at my film site back in the day when I was just starting out, I had, like 40,000 people over a period of a couple of years look at my sales video.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, I was like, how would I have ever talked to that many people in real life?
Never.
So anyway, yeah, so SEO is really powerful. That's why companies want to pay people for it. That's SEO.
Okay.
Paid search, Google ads, PPC. That's where, SEO is where a lot of my students get jobs, but PPC is the primary one. That's paid traffic.
Okay.
This is where Google makes all their money, and billions of dollars every year. And all PPC is 1 second, guys. Sorry.
No problem.
Got to arrest the pipes.
I'm taking my own business right now.
When you type in that search, like buy a digital camera or anything, or get a plane ticket to Europe someday, you see these ads in the search result. Now, you may have never clicked one of those ads, but people do. That's why. And every time someone clicks an ad, Google gets paid money. So every day, that's why Google's so brilliant. Every day, people click. It's just cha-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching for Google.
So even if we don't buy anything, they get paid?
What's that?
So even if we don't buy anything from that ad, they get paid just for me clicking on it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Google's like the, yeah, and it's just you're just paying. It's the same as if you did a radio ad or a TV ad. You're paying for the eyeballs.
Okay.
So now you have to think there's literally billions of dollars being spent, and companies are advertising on Google. They want to make sure their ads are, like you said, they pay Google no matter what. So they hire companies to optimize their paid advertising. So if you can demonstrate that you can help a company spend their ad money better, get more results, that's when you get hired.
Right.
And from what I teach people from no experience, just the Google Ads platform is like, I explain it's Google made it. They made it, they try to make it user friendly, right? But there's two issues. And I explain this in the mini course. Number one, Google is a bunch of geeks. So what they think is easy and super easy to use for the average person is like, what? So if you take my course and learn the language, which is more, I say it's like taking a driving test, right? You got to put in the 10 hours. You can do it right. But the average business owner they're not doing it right. And remember, Google gets paid no matter what. So you'll see customers that have set up their accounts all wrong. They're wasting their money. Google's getting paid, and they don't know what to do. And this is still the case.
Right.
The other thing, Google tries to provide like guidance to these owners, and I say that's like the casino giving you a blackjack class.
Right.
Hey, you want to be better at blackjack? MGM is going to teach you how. They care in that they want you to keep spending money. But I've had to rescue accounts or deal with people who the Google rep messed up their account, because they don't know the stuff that I learned as an account manager.
Right.
And
that's PPC or SEM, search engine management. Marketing.
Can I ask you a question real quickly? Because that's one of the reasons why I never advertised, because I had the fear that I would spend money and not get the return on my investment. So right now, between my son Rodney that has passed the certifications, I have another team member that's taking the course, with us, so they can understand it. So for me, my trepidation, Seth, is that I want to spend $10 a day. How do I optimize that I'm getting the return to get people actually come to my website? Can you talk to that for a quick second, just for me personally? Because that's my fear why I never did ads. Realize I need to do ads now if I want to make money on the internet.
Well, you have to just make sure you're targeting everything properly. There's a whole flow. That's what I teach in the course. There's a whole funnel. You have to target the right people with the right ad, take them to the right landing page, make sure you know what your goals are. And this is part of what I teach people. And you have to be willing to test too. You do have to spend that money, and it's like anything, how it is in business. You got to try something. And
right.
Google, the other paid platform is Facebook, and Instagram is hugely powerful. And it depends on the types of people you want to reach and your product. Like for instance, like if I have a client who's a photographer, or one of my students has a client who's a photographer, definitely Google ads are good, because someone will type in photographer, family portrait or something. But let's say if you go and advertise on Facebook or Instagram, guess what? You can show pictures of your stuff, And with Facebook and Instagram, you can target people more more demographically.
Right. We focus on the demographics.
Yeah. You can target people by their interest, by their politics, by their culture, by their age, by their gender, all those things. So, but with Google, $10. The other thing is you do have to see what your click cost is going to be and that's another thing I have to tell people if they're serious in the beginning. Sometimes you have to spend more money on ads in the beginning. You just got it. There's a balance. I don't want you to blow your marketing budget, but some people are like, I want to spend $3 a day on Google, and the click cost is $1.50. Well, you're not gonna, it's not a good fit. It also depends on your profit margins. And I will say that Google ads have become more competitive over the years, which is another reason why the skill set's more in demand. Like there was a time 15 years ago before I was even in it. I mean, you can get these cheap clicks and it was just a no-brainer to advertise, because if you're spending 10 cents a click, let's just get people to our page.
Isn't that what Gary Vee did with his wine? If I'm correct?
Probably. I don't know the specifics, but I mean, there was a period of time where it was a lot less competitive.
Right.
Now, actually, I mean, advertising is, down from where it was. I'm sure it's, it's an auction. So if there's less people competing for a keyword, the price will go down. But you have to basically be willing to do the testing, and that's why people hire people to do it. And you have to be clear on what your goal is. I mean, with Facebook, one thing I do like about Facebook versus Google is that I do find it is, I have campaigns running where I spend $5 a day and I still get very good results. And I can, it's I like Facebook and Instagram ads for what I'm doing. Like, for instance, when I advertise my course, I'm targeting people based on Facebook has some crazy tools you can use that I talk about to target people who are similar to other people. But for my course, if you do digital marketing, like, it's super competitive, because mostly the reason is because there are a lot of schools out there and programs that are charging, $10,000, $20,000 or a lot more than me.
Right.
And it's not cost efficient for me to bid on a $5 or $10 click per person coming to my website. It just doesn't make any sense for me. But there's other products and services where, like, especially local businesses, this is where it's very cost efficient for them to, and a lot of your business is going to be local businesses, to get that visitor in the door through a TV or a radio ad might cost 5 times as much money.
Right.
That's what I should speak to, especially since we may have just focused on the cost. The CPM, which is cost per million views, cost per 1,000 views.
Okay.
For online is so much less than traditional. That's another reason why it's so amazing. Like, I actually made a movie in 2017. I think I told you about a comedy. And, yeah. And we put it up on Amazon, and no name actors, and people were renting it, and it was great. And I was advertising exclusively through Instagram. And I explored some, this was like a passion project. I have not recovered the money yet, but I talked to a cable TV guy, which is like old school, but I said, it's a movie, so I want to put it on TV. Some businesses do well on TV. And I looked at the cost, and it was like, the cost to reach 1,000 people on Facebook and Instagram was like maybe $3, $5, maybe $10, depending on who you're targeting. But through TV, the numbers add up to it's like $70.
Wow.
It's like crazy money to get in front of people on TV. And that's the other thing that's so great about digital, is that a lot of these businesses who could never get TV or radio advertising because of their budget, you can spend $10 a day, $20 a day, and get results. But I hope that answered your question. I kind of go off when I answer.
No. That was great, because I think it's giving people a wider view on digital marketing and where this can go for them in the future. I wanted to know what you felt. I wanted to know if you think I wanted to know. Do you feel like there is a basic level of knowing what marketing, computers, and computer knowledge before taking your course? Because, our audience here at UrbanX is very wide, and a lot of people, they can be intimidated just hearing some of these terms, or just thinking about, I have to learn something else again, or they haven't been in
Right.
school in years. Like, you know what I mean?
No, I understand. That's what I was trying to give you my background. People look at me and I talk about this stuff. I talk fast. I'm from the East Coast, and people assume maybe that I'm like, some geek who has this like technical background. I'm just a New Yorker. That's why I talk fast. So, what I say to people is that, listen, when I started out, when I started out, I didn't know a thing about anything. And what I tell people is this is like, okay, so the cutoff in my mind is like, sometimes I do get people they're like, if you don't understand computers, if you don't understand how to set up an email account, then it's not for you. If you're intimidated by the internet, then it's not for you. But it's sophisticated. What I mean is you have to be analytical in a way, no matter whether you do SEO or PPC. You have to be able to look at numbers and draw conclusions. But it's very simple stuff in that regard. It's not like calculus. It's like, oh, we just spent $100 and we got, 50 clicks, and our click-through rate then is, whatever our click-through rate is. How can we improve that? How can we? I'm running out of battery here. How can we get more clicks? And can you analyze percentages? So you need to have basic math, I would say. Basic to intermediate math, right?
Right.
If somebody doesn't understand percentages, they really can't do this job. Maybe you could do SEO. Now, SEO is also very analytical. You're looking for details. You're looking at a site and you're trying to like look at little like, well, what's missing here? What can I add here? So you have to have that kind of analytic, and you need to be creative in that if you're writing ad copy, you're trying to imagine like, okay, how do I get the attention of this customer? How do I stand out? That's why I like the field. Why I worked in other jobs, like I said, accounting, and I wasn't even really an accountant. I was doing accounts receivable, which is like typing invoices into a computer, but it was boring. This field is going to be intellectually like stimulating. But for people who are intimidated by these terms, that's why I think a lot of people love my course so much, is because I make it very fun and easy to understand. And like I said, it's like, there's a certain level of a cutoff of information. They said, if you don't like analyzing things, you probably won't like it.
Right.
I like breaking things down, figuring out problem solving, that kind of thing. There's really no coding involved. But I think the type of person. Like I have these friends. One of my mentors is in his 70s, and he's a smart guy. Like he's very wise.
Right.
But you put a computer in front of him, he turns into he I don't know if it's a mental block, but he just like can't seem to figure out what's going on. And I explained to him and his wife like how to do a Skype call. I wanted to try to set him up with like an online course kind of Zoom meeting thing so he could make some online income. And I remember I was like, this is a guy who's guided me in my life. He's brilliant.
Right.
He's a teacher. I was like, and his wife is like, if you're watching this, no offense, guys, I've told you about this. His wife is a PhD, and I'm like, this is not complicated to set up a Zoom call. But if you're that, some people say if you have like a mindset block around computers, it's probably not the right fit.
Right.
There's other resources.
That sounds like my mom. My mom is extraordinarily smart in the medical field, but you put a computer in front of her, I don't care how simple it is, man, she cannot figure it out. The thing I'm excited about is that when you talked about the diversity part.
Yeah, because but here's the thing also, so we don't think I'm not being ageist at all. I have a colleague who's in her 50s, and she is like so energetic and so on top of her stuff with, she's just crushing it. It's about your mindset. So, you could have a slow mindset in your 20s too. I do get people also coming with kind of a negative mindset where like, show me, if I don't get a job in 20 days, am I going to get my money back? That kind of a thing. I'm like, it's not the right attitude, man. You need to invest in this like persistently. And I'll tell you, I had some great success stories from people who were having some trouble with their confidence, and I kept encouraging them over time. And, it was very satisfying when somebody who didn't think that, was kind of doubting themselves when they get that first job. It's very satisfying.
So I wanted to know what the next step would be for people watching this right now, because I want people to go to your site and check out in demand career and check out what you're about, because I'm right now as a living testimony. Dale, DJ and his son right now are living testimony. You heard him at the beginning, and I want to do something for our audience so they can get you the full experience of you and what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, I think, Dale, you have a link. I have a free introductory course where I explain some of the things that I touched on here in more detail. And yeah, there's a lot more information. You'll be put on my email list, so you'll get more like follow-up emails if you want to communicate with me, ask me questions. I respond to my emails every day. And then the emails will send you to the full course. And if you also want to do, Dale, I mean, you could send people, if somebody's watching this and you already are ready to go or closer to that, you can send people right to the sales page. The sales page of the course, it's not just give me a credit card. I explain more about the course. I show you. Right. What I do now is I just put up, I just flood you with testimonials, because there's so many stories. And you're going to hear, I know this is where a lot of people, because my students share their stories in detail because they're so genuinely changed. They'll explain. Some of them write these long messages, and I just put them up, read what they have, and then I do explain the curriculum. But the thing is, with the curriculum, like I tell you what you're going to learn, but you don't know what you're going to learn till you learn it. So some people come to me and they're like, well, I saw another program. I'm going to learn this. I'm like, well, I'm going to teach you what you need to know. Right. And that will get you results. You don't tell me what I mean is the course is, like I said, the reason it's unique is because the course is how to get the job. So it's the whole learn the skills, generate the experience, change the resume. And that's basically what I put up there.
And you know what? I just had a light bulb moment. What if you would be willing to do a free webinar for our Urban X community next week? Would you be willing to do that? Do that for us? We can put this. We're gonna put the interview out, and then we offer our Urban X community to come and chop it up with you for about 45 minutes in a free webinar with you, and we give them all the information they can and take it from there. Would that sound like a great idea?
Yeah, let's do it.
What do you think, Malcom?
I think that'd be great, and just give everybody a chance, because like I told Seth, I told DJ off when we weren't live, that I took a digital marketing course, a very expensive digital marketing course, when I just graduated college, and I didn't have Urban X wasn't a thing. We didn't have the podcast, the blog, YouTube channel, anything. And even if it was still a lot of fluff. And I'm taking this course now, and immediately, like a half hour in, I had to pause, go to my website and check I have to change that. That's wrong. You know what I'm saying? I went to the YouTube channel. I was like, this doesn't really do it either. You know what I'm saying? And I immediately found things that are applicable. So like I said a few minutes ago, at best it's going to help me strengthen my business. At worst it's going to help me get a great job, and I have a kid on the way, so you know he's serious. And here's the funny thing, he said, how long I've been telling you about this program, Malcom? For a while, and it was funny because I actually got on your email list like way before I forgot, because I had so much going on. And then I had to search back in my email. I was like, okay, so.
No, you said you didn't get an email, and I said,
check
your email.
Like, I didn't get an email, but I definitely did.
That's how it was. At least about 12 months about the program. That's what we were all talking on screen. That was like, no, what email are you talking about? And then when he found it, when we disconnected, he said, oh yeah, that's right. About 12 months ago, I went and checked them out when you told me. So yeah, I think that would be a great idea, because here's the one thing, the other reason why I wanted to bring Seth onto your platform, Malcom, and again, thank you for your time, Seth, and thank you, Malcom, for allowing me to introduce you to Seth. That when you talked about diversity, it struck a chord to me, because in the Urban X community that what Malcom created and has been running for the past couple of years, a lot of your people look like his audience, and a lot of them will go through, from young to middle age, and I was like, wow, this is going to resonate on two fronts. One, it's a skill that everybody got to have in the world. Two, this is a skill that in our community specifically is no reason to say you can't get ahead in today's economy because you are providing a skill that can help them win right now today. And that's what I'm about as being DJ the Money Coach, providing opportunity and resources for our people across the board. So that's what I'm excited about. Man, Seth, thank you for letting us put a webinar together next week. So I'm going to leave it to Malcolm, and then, hey, let's wrap it up and get this thing rocking. I'm excited.
I'll have a link to, for people watching, I have a link to Seth's free course in the description below. I have more details coming out about the webinar on our podcast. Obviously, you guys can join us there every Monday and Thursday. And with that being said, DJ, thank you. Seth Hymes, thank you so much for this. This was very enlightening. I think a lot of people will get a lot of value out of this. And with that being said, everybody, peace. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Malcom lifestyle, baby. Thanks a lot, guys.